The veil between worlds. Why reality is not what it appears to be. What if I told you that right now, as you're watching this video, you are not fully here? That a part of you, maybe the most real part, is somewhere else, operating from a different plane of consciousness, influencing your thoughts, your emotions, and even your destiny without you realizing it. This isn't science fiction. This is the spiritual truth that 99% of people never discover in their lifetime. You are living in two worlds at once. One is the world you know, the physical, the material, the measurable. The other, the subtle, the energetic, the unseen. And once you begin to understand this, your entire life starts to change. I want you to think about a moment when you felt like something wasn't quite real. Maybe it was walking through a crowded city and feeling like the people around you were asleep. Maybe it was lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, and suddenly becoming aware that your thoughts weren't just yours. They were being observed by something deeper within you. Or maybe it was a dream so vivid it felt more true than waking life. These are not accidents. These are leaks from the second world you're living in, the spiritual dimension, the realm of pure presence. And the more you ignore it, the more your life starts to feel hollow, forced, or misaligned.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lessons.
Here's the paradigm-shifting truth. Your physical body exists in the material world, but your consciousness is multidimensional. It's not bound by time or space. It's not local. Right now you're watching this video, but your awareness is stretching across layers of reality simultaneously. You are receiving information, energy, and emotional signals from a subtle field that most people have been trained to ignore. Why? Because society isn't built to support awakened beings. It's built to keep you focused on survival, conformity, and distraction. And yet, deep within you, there's a part that never forgot, a part that remembers the other world, the original world, the real you. We live in a culture that is obsessed with the five senses. If it can't be seen, touched, measured, or monetized, it's dismissed. But the great mystics, shamans, and sages throughout history, every single one of them spoke of two worlds: the seen and the unseen, the physical and the spiritual, the illusion and the essence. And those who awaken to this dual reality begin to see through the matrix of ordinary life. They begin to question the script. They stop being distracted by the noise of the world because they can feel the other world pulsing underneath. It's like standing in Times Square and suddenly hearing a sacred chant ringing from below the pavement. It's subtle, but once you hear it, you can't unhear it. But what does this mean practically? What does it mean to live in two worlds? It means that every decision you make is a dialogue between your ego and your essence. It means that every emotion you feel is not just a chemical reaction, but a message from your other self. It means that your dreams, synchronicities, déjà vu, your intuitive hits, your sudden knowing, they're not coincidences. They are echoes from the other world, where your higher self is already walking a path your physical self is just now discovering. You are not lost. You are being guided. But the guidance doesn't come from outside. It comes from within, from the version of you that exists beyond the veil. Let me ask you a question most people never dare to ask themselves. What if everything you think is real has been designed to keep you from remembering who you are? What if the stress, the urgency, the pressure to perform, to produce, to prove, that's all noise to keep you from hearing the other world? Because here's the deal. The moment you start listening to the second world, the material world loses its grip on you. You stop needing validation. You stop chasing empty goals. You stop fearing failure. Why? Because you realize that your soul is playing a much bigger game than this human life. You start to see this world not as a prison, but as a training ground, a school for consciousness, a sacred simulation. And just like in a simulation, there are clues, glitches, hidden codes, signs that the two worlds are overlapping more often than you think. Ever notice how when you're in deep alignment, when you're not forcing, not overthinking, just being, suddenly things flow? You meet the right person, the opportunity arrives, the decision becomes clear. That's not luck. That's alignment across dimensions. That's your inner and outer worlds syncing up like a perfect chord. The more you live from that place, the more magical your life becomes. Not because of superstition, but because you're finally operating from your original design. So the question now becomes, how do you live consciously in both worlds? How do you stop being a sleepwalker in the material world and become a lucid dreamer in the spiritual one? It starts with attention. Where you place your attention is where your energy flows. And most people are pouring all their attention into the external, news, drama, social media, expectations. But the real world, the second world, lives just beneath the surface of your awareness. It speaks in symbols, in silence, in subtlety. And if you really want to hear it, you have to slow down. You have to get still. You have to relearn the language of the soul, because it's speaking all the time. The question is, are you listening? You've lived your whole life thinking the dream ends when you wake up. But what if it's the opposite? What if waking life is the dream and your soul has been trying to stir you from it? What if your anxiety is not a disorder but a compass? What if your depression is not a failure but a doorway? What if your confusion is not a flaw but a signal that you're ready to wake up? You are not broken. You are between worlds. And the more you embrace that, the more you activate the part of yourself that was never asleep to begin with. The return of the silent architect, how your higher self is designing your reality in secret. You've probably felt it before. That strange sensation that something is watching over you, not in a fearful way, but in a deeply intimate, almost sacred manner. Like an invisible presence behind your thoughts, guiding your steps, whispering truths in moments of silence. That's not your imagination. That is the second world leaking into your awareness. And the more you pay attention to it, the more the veil thins. But here's what they never taught you. This veil is not just separating you from the spiritual world. It's protecting you from experiencing all of it at once. Because until you're ready, the unfiltered truth of who you are would be too much to carry. We are conditioned to believe that reality is made of matter, that what we see, touch, and measure is what's real. But that's the greatest illusion of all. Reality is not built from atoms, it's built from attention. Matter follows consciousness, not the other way around. The quantum physicists are just beginning to catch up with what the mystics have known for thousands of years. That observation shapes reality. That intention bends matter. That belief literally changes the structure of your world. And yet you were taught to doubt your own power. You were taught that magic is fantasy, that miracles are rare, and that your inner world has no impact on the external. But the truth is devastatingly empowering. Your inner world creates the external. Every thought you think, every emotion you feel, every belief you repeat, it's all programming your field. And your field is what determines what you attract, what you repel, and what you perceive. You and someone else can walk into the exact same room and experience two completely different realities. Not because the room is different, but because your inner filters are. That's the veil. It's not just between you and the spirit world. It's between you and reality itself. You think you're seeing the world clearly, but you're only seeing the version of the world your consciousness is prepared to handle. And when your consciousness expands, so does your reality. So the logical question becomes, how do we expand our consciousness? How do we pierce the veil? The answer is both ancient and modern: stillness, silence, surrender. You don't need more information. You need less distraction. The second world doesn't operate through volume, it operates through vibration. It speaks in symbols, resonance, frequency. That's why nature feels sacred. That's why music can make you cry without words. That's why a single look from someone who sees your soul can change your life. Because in those moments, the veil becomes transparent. You remember, not through thought, but through knowing. But knowing is dangerous to the ego. Because the moment you know who you truly are, the entire game changes. You no longer chase what others chase. You no longer fear what others fear. And when you stop playing the game of the world doesn't know what to do with you. That's why so many awakened beings feel isolated, misunderstood, even targeted. It's not because they're broken. It's because they've stepped outside the script. And the system is designed to keep you inside the script. To make you believe that fitting in is safety and staying asleep is peace. But you can't unknow the truth once it touches you. And if you're hearing this now, you've already been touched. Let me ask you something almost no one dares to ask themselves. What if everything you call reality is actually a personalized illusion built just for your awakening? What if the people who trigger you, the patterns that repeat, the pain that won't go away, it's not punishment, but programming, not to keep you stuck, but to wake you up? What if your soul designed the very challenges you're facing right now, not to harm you, but to force you to look inward, to stop outsourcing your power and start reclaiming it? Because the veil doesn't just hide the spiritual world, it hides you from yourself. And here's where this gets even deeper. You're not the only one living in two worlds. Everyone is, but only a few are conscious of it. The rest are sleepwalking, reacting to shadows without realizing they're casting them. And every time you shift your awareness, every time you break a pattern, every time you choose love over fear, you don't just free yourself. You thin the veil for everyone. You become a transmitter of a new frequency. You become a living portal between the worlds. And whether they know it or not, people feel it. That's why some are drawn to you. That's why others are triggered by you. You're not just a person anymore. You are a reminder. The more you live in alignment with that truth, the less you need to explain yourself. You stop trying to convince others of what you feel. You stop fighting to be understood. Because you realize that truth doesn't need defense, it only needs embodiment. When you embody the second world, when you live from soul, from stillness, from sacred inner authority, you change the frequency of the room without saying a word. That, right there, is the real power. Not control, not dominance, but resonance. And resonance is the language of the veil. It's how the two worlds communicate. It's how spirit speaks through synchronicity, through feeling, through the quiet knowing that this is where I'm meant to be. So I leave you with this. What would your life look like if you stopped pretending the second world doesn't exist? If you stopped treating your dreams, your intuition, your inner knowing as just imagination? What if those were messages from your soul guiding you back home? And what if the only reason you felt lost is because you've been looking for yourself in a world that was never designed to reflect your soul? The truth is, you were never lost. You were hidden. And now, you're being found. 99% don't know this. You are living in two worlds at once. Have you ever sensed that something isn't quite right with this world? That beneath the surface of what we're told to focus on, career, status, money, appearance, there's something much deeper calling. That quiet voice that whispers during your most vulnerable moments, the one that speaks not in words but in knowing, is not your imagination. It is your signal from the second world, the world behind the veil. The veil is not some mystical curtain in a different dimension. It's right here, right now, everywhere. The veil is the illusion that what you see with your eyes is all there is. And when you begin to pierce that veil, reality starts to unravel and reveal itself for what it truly is. This unraveling can be terrifying at first, because when you start to see through the veil, the structures you once depended on begin to dissolve. You no longer believe in the same authorities. You no longer crave the same approval. You no longer fear the same losses. And that makes you dangerous to systems built on fear, to people invested in illusion, and even to your own ego. But it also makes you free. You begin to realize that most of what we call reality is a projection, a shared hallucination, a consensus agreement built by billions of people who have forgotten that they are divine, forgotten that they are multidimensional beings living in two worlds at once. I want you to look around your life right now. Your job, your routines, your relationships. How many of those things are reflections of your soul's truth? And how many are just habits inherited from a world that trained you to obey? You were taught to look outside for meaning, to follow the rules, to suppress your inner voice. But the second world, the real world, is accessed when you stop outsourcing your authority, when you stop seeking permission to be who you already are. The veil between these worlds is not thick, it's thin, paper thin. It's held together by your beliefs. And the moment you question those beliefs with courage and clarity, the veil begins to tear. The greatest illusion the material world teaches is that you are separate, separate from others, separate from nature, separate from your purpose, separate from the divine. But the truth is, separation is a lie. The second world reveals that all things are connected, not metaphorically, but literally. Your thoughts ripple into the field around you. Your emotions shape your physical reality. Your intentions interact with the quantum framework of existence. When you begin to live from this awareness, everything changes. You stop reacting to life and start co-creating with it. You realize that you're not a prisoner of fate. You're a participant in a sacred design that responds to your inner state. But here's the challenge. The first world, the world of form, doesn't reward inner truth. It rewards performance, masks, roles. You're rewarded for being what others expect, not for being who you truly are. And so most people betray themselves little by little every day just to survive. They trade their intuition for logic, their magic for predictability, their presence for productivity. And slowly they become ghosts in their own lives. But you don't have to. Because the veil between the two worlds isn't just something to look through. It's something to walk through. And once you do, you can never go back. Let me ask you something few ever dare to ask themselves. What part of your life is a performance? What dreams are you chasing that aren't even yours? What version of yourself did you create to be accepted? And is that version still running the show? Most people are terrified to answer these questions. Because to answer them honestly means facing the truth that their life is not based on authenticity, it's based on adaptation. But you are ready to stop adapting. You are ready to remember. And remembering is the first step to awakening. You're not here to fit into this world. You're here to bridge it with the other. Living in two worlds doesn't mean rejecting the physical. It means seeing it for what it really is, a reflection, a mirror. This world is not the source of your power, it's the canvas. The source is within. The second world, the spiritual dimension, is where your true self resides. And when you live from that place, you bring the frequency of the second world into the first. That's how you change reality. Not by fighting the system, but by vibrating above it. Not by reacting to darkness, but by becoming light. You don't escape the matrix by destroying it. You transcend it by remembering who you are within it. And this is where your greatest power lies. In the space between both worlds. In the still point where your soul and your self meet. It's in that space that miracles are born. It's in that space that you are no longer playing a character, you are channeling your true essence. You become a living portal, a transmitter of divine frequency, and people will feel it. They won't know why, but they'll be drawn to you. Not because of how you look or what you have, but because your presence reminds them of the truth they forgot. You become the veil breaker, the bridge builder, the one who walks in both worlds and carries the map for others to follow. Most people die without ever realizing they were living in two worlds. They die having only touched the surface of their being, never diving into the depths. But you're not most people. You wouldn't be here reading these words if your soul hadn't already started waking up. The second world is calling you, not to escape this one, but to infuse this one with the truth of who you are. To live not from fear, but from frequency. Not from memory, but from presence. Not from survival, but from sovereign knowing. And once you say yes to that, there is no going back. You become a conscious traveler between dimensions, a living paradox, a soul in human form remembering the divine game it came here to play.